Hi everyone, and welcome to Overbiked Randoneering, a YouTube channel where we focus on optimizing our equipment, our strategies and training in the pursuit of success on ultra-distance events like randoneering. And today we have what I think is a very attractive choice for our front light for riding safely and quickly through the night. This comes from Magicshine, and it's their EVO 1700 model. This light has all of the qualities that we should be demanding from any front light, plus a few extras. Today we'll take a look at why I think this might be the best light under $200 that we can choose that's battery powered. But did I mention it's actually less than $100? Let's dive in and see what are the qualities of this light, how does it look at night, and how is it in regular use. On top of that, we'll compare it to some other competing mid-priced options. Let's dive in. The EVO 1700 has some of the main qualities that we really want from any road front bike light. It has a shaped beam lens and a hard cutoff to avoid blinding oncoming traffic or oncoming cyclists. There are no provisions for 90-degree side visibility though. The beam style itself is aspherical, and it's in the ST-ZVO standard style, but the light supports a lot more power than German regulations would allow. The low beam, which doesn't blind oncoming traffic, produces up to 800 lumens, and the high beam, which will blind oncoming traffic, produces up to 1700 lumens. Around the back here we can see the permanent 4000 milliamp hour battery, which at 3.6 volts results in a theoretical 14.4 watt hour capacity. Here we can see the USB-C charging port that does support pass-through charging, so you can be running the light and charging it at the same time. However, don't try to do this when it's raining. Here we can see the EVO 1700's GoPro mount. This allows it to be mounted underneath the handlebars, freeing up valuable real estate. This is especially important for us ultra-distance cyclists, as we tend to mount a lot of stuff on our bars. Magicshine has included this combination Garmin and GoPro mount in the out front style, which makes sure we don't need to buy any extra accessories when we purchase the light. I have experimented with a few other mounting options though, like this stem spacer GoPro mount from the company Zahn, and this Aero bar computer and GoPro mount from AliExpress. There have been reports of the GoPro mount breaking, but there are replacement kits available from Magicshine. Also included is this wireless remote, which can turn on the light and cycle through the different settings. And this square button sets it to the highest possible setting, which is pretty useful for descending, and then turning it back to the previous low beam setting with another push. This is really useful if there's oncoming traffic that you don't want to blind. Kind of an interesting use case for this wireless remote was when I used this light on my 400K this year that I did on my recumbent. Because the light is positioned nearby the cranks in the bottom bracket, I was unable to reach it, so it was really convenient to be able to just push a button and turn it on the intensity that I needed. We have 155 grams for the light with the mount. The Garmin GoPro out front mount with a spacer for a regular size handlebar, 52 grams. And we have 16 grams for the remote control. It might take a few attempts to get the light adjusted at the correct angle, so make sure to bring a 3mm Allen key with you for the first couple of rides. Here we can see the inline charging working just fine, and for me I just like to place my battery bank here in my top tube bag and usually run the cable out through the front port. We're out here testing the beam strength of the EVO 1700 and a few other select lights. I've got my camera set here to manual setting, and we'll keep it the same for each test. Currently it's at ISO 6400, shutter speed is at 1/60, and f2.2. Up first, here we have the EVO 1700 on low beams. This should be about 200 lumens, and you can notice it's a very even carpet of light. According to the ANSI test, this should last 11 hours. Actual performance of the battery will vary depending on conditions, especially related to temperature. One thing to note with the EVO1700 on low is it's actually bright enough to use while cycling at speed. This means that if you can get 11 hours out of this light, which I have before, even on a cold brevet, then that is a full night of pedaling. The color tone is a little bit cool, but mostly neutral. And there's a clear cutoff at the top. I think that the EVO1700's ability to actually help you see on low is one of the key features that differentiates it from other lights, as we'll see in a little bit. This is the EVO1700 on medium. It has that same even carpet of light, and you can see how wide the beam stretches. I would say it's a little bit wider than 2 lanes of road, and it has a nice intensity. This, according to the ANSI tests, lasts 5.5 hours, so this would be adequate for like a 300K brevet, but would probably almost certainly need charging on a 400K brevet or higher. But this is a really nice amount of light to ride with, and it allows the rider to maintain pretty good speed. Up next, we have the EVO1700's low beam on the high setting, and this provides very nice, intense light that's spread evenly across the whole beam area. According to the ANSI tests, this lasts about 3 hours, so isn't really appropriate for any randonneuring unless you maintain constant inline charging. This would take an entire 10,000 milliamp battery pack to go through the night, but I gotta say, this is really nice for having near perfect visibility at night. It's really good for descending as well, as long as the turns aren't too sharp. The cutoff at the top, which is pretty clearly visible here, does some funny things when making sharp turns. Here, the EVO1700 is set to its high beam and the low setting for that. I'm not sure if it comes through here with the camera, but it's throwing light up into the trees, maybe about 10 meters, 15 meters up into the trees. I don't recommend using the high beams if there's any other traffic on the road at all, but it does provide some really nice visibility, especially if you're going through some woods like this. The medium setting of the high beam really illuminates the trees better, so even the camera can see it now. And this is one of the reasons you don't want to be using the high beam setting on the road, because this will blind oncoming traffic. And this is just the medium setting. Up next, we have the high beam and the high setting throwing the full 1700 lumens up ahead. This is really bright, and it's almost like the daytime. If you were to use this and there was oncoming traffic, they would have significant difficulty to see you because the light would be blinding them. So please, if you get this light, do not use this setting if there's oncoming traffic. To compare to a few other competing lights, this is the Lumintop B01 on low, and the light is so low that the camera cannot even pick it up. Here, the Lumintop B01 is on medium settings, which should be about 320 lumens. A few things to note about its beam pattern is it's a little bit more narrow, the cutoff is a little less clear, the light is a bit warmer, and it has sort of a hotspot design rather than an even carpet of light. The medium setting on the B01 should last about 6.5 hours according to the ANSI test, and that's a little bit longer than the 5.5 hours on medium for the EVO1700. The battery is a bit larger and it's putting out total less lumens. And here we have the Lumintop B01 on high. This should be putting out about 600 lumens, and with its larger battery should last about 4.5 hours. This provides pretty good visibility, but on a 400K or longer brevet, it would need inline charging or a battery swap during the ride. Another interesting feature of the EVO1700 is the app. So this allows you to set how many light modes you use and what percentage of the maximum brightness is used in that setting. So here, this would be the standard low setting of 25%, so 200 lumens out of the 800 lumens max, and it's set on the low beam. If I wanted a daytime running light that didn't really use much battery, I could set that all the way down here to say like 5%, and it's actually still a little bit more usable than the low settings on the other lights. I could even set it all the way down to 1% if I wanted to, and it's hardly visible at all. But if I walk up here to in front of the bike itself, then we can see that someone looking at me would see me coming. And this is just at 1%. I think the more intriguing use of this app, though, is to maximize our light and our battery use depending on our sleep schedule or how long we need to use the light. As someone who usually sleeps through the night, I don't need a full 11 hours of battery use. But I also need more than the 5.5 hours that the 400 lumen setting gets. So I prefer this. It's a small uptick, going up to 35%. This should last close to 8 hours, which is about the maximum amount of time that I'm able to ride through the night. Overall, I think the ability for us as long-distance cyclists to be able to exactly pinpoint how much light we're able to maximally get without needing to do inline charging through the night is a really valuable thing. And I think that elevates the EVO1700 and perhaps other Magicshine lights above similar competition who don't have this sort of functionality. You might be able to tell I'm pretty smitten with the EVO1700. I think it does exactly what we need for a road bike light for long distance cycling. It has a nice carpet of light with a shaped beam. It has a cutoff to avoid blinding oncoming traffic. It has a battery large enough that we can use it throughout the entire night without even inline charging, but if we do need inline charging, that is available. I appreciate its under the handlebar mounting system, especially when I'm using aero bars, which take up a lot of space. And overall, it's just a really good experience. The different stock settings on the beam strengths they make a lot of sense. The low is strong enough to use actually riding, which is different. It's a departure from what's common at this price point. But I also love that the app allows us to customize exactly the intensity that we need so that we can have the maximum amount of brightness for however long we need to be out on the road. That said, the EVO1700 is not perfect. I would love to see this same beam mated to a larger battery. This would help it compete with some of those more expensive $250, $300 lights just by having that much more capacity. That way, as long-distance cyclists, we could have a higher beam intensity and still not need to worry about inline charging, like if there's some bad weather. There were a few updates to the app that I think would be pretty good too. But overall, I do highly recommend the EVO1700 for anybody who's spending a lot of time riding on the roads at night. At $89, it's already a good deal. I paid for this with my own money back in February, but in the meantime, right before making this video, I signed up for the Magicshine affiliate program. So there's an affiliate link in the video description where purchases there support the channel. And there's also a 15% discount code making a good deal even better. So if you're in the market for a new front bike light that's battery powered, check out the EVO1700. You will not be disappointed. Ride safe and see you in the next video. Not gonna lie, this light is pretty impressive here. I think Trace Velo said it's like driving a car. I think this light might be better than my car.